Walter, John, Julio, and myself. And is there anyone else on?
Steve Iglianti.
Oh, Steve.
And
Sorry, I can't.
And Megan and Karen.
And okay, and so
Steve
Iglianti
is on too.
There's a couple of phone numbers, Jen. Maybe we should identify. One ends in 578.
That's Carol, right?
Okay, is that you, Carol?
0758 is me. Yeah, I'm in my
Okay, and
office,
then-
so I have two. Yeah.
And
2020.
That's Howard.
Okay.
That's Howard. Okay, great.
Okay, great.
So the first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from.
Susan, can I ask you one question? They said there's 20.
Sorry.
When I got on, it said you are joining with 20 other people. There's 20 people on this call?
No,
Yes,
there's
sir.
21. You and 20 others.
Oh,
Well, there's the IDA board and several guests.
Oh, and we have also,
Okay.
sorry, we have Donna Crowley and Linda Hannigan from RBT. Sorry about that.
Because we have auditors, we
Right.
have lots of lawyers on, we have members of the public on. So,
It's Susie's leadership that attracts a crowd. That's what it is.
yeah, that's it, for sure.
And we have Sean Brooks as well. I'm sorry, I'm just flipping through and seeing him now.
Yep.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 14th?
So moved.
Anyone, someone?
So moved.
Motion?
I'll second it.
Wake up, everybody. Who was the?
Paul and
who
Howard.
moved?
Paul and Howard.
Okay, thank you, Howard. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, move on to bills and communications. Jen, anything changed from what we got in the packet?
There was a revised schedule of payments that went out with the agenda packet yesterday. So what we have are 3 total payments in the amount of $727.76. And then we had a payment that was approved since the last meeting, which was related to the equipment procurement for the SVG 26 project. So the board discussed that and authorized the procurement at the February 14th meeting. And then we made the first of, I think, 2 payments on that equipment in the amount of $13,888.05. And then the only other item is payroll, which you see at the bottom of the schedule in the amount of $8,541.85. So those are the payments that have been made since the last meeting.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the schedule?
I'll move it. Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're moving on now to new business, and the first resolution relates to the golf project transaction. Jen, are you walking us through, or Walter?
We can, either one of us walk us through, but I do want to bring up one additional request that was made as the documents were rolled out. One of the requests that is handled in the resolution is for the 16-year benefit period for the golf project to be after the golf project opens. The way the document was drafted, it contemplated a 2-year construction period, and the construction of the golf course has been delayed. So if you go to section 2 at the end, in the operative provisions, 2F says amend the pilot agreement. So 16-year benefit period starts following completion of the golf course. There's probably not a lot of reason to worry about that. That was our intent to begin with. What has now also been requested to align the timing is for the new incremental value on the EV hotel project, where the plan now is to build a pro shop, lockers, locker room, and some golf offices in the EV hotel project. The request is to push that out, that new value, to January 1st of 2025, so that it aligns with when the golf course opens, as opposed to have pilot payments on a pro shop that's not associated with a golf course. So that's the only change that would be potentially made, depending on how you wish to handle that. from the resolution as it was circulated. So how do you want to deal with that request?
I mean,
don't
I
think
guess
we have a.
Sorry, go ahead, Howard.
No, I think we need to do that. I think there's a lot of thought process that this thing is, when it went south way back, and we're trying to accommodate everybody's, now what they're doing. I think you need to make it consistent, because if you don't make it consistent, A, we'll be crazed, and B, we need to give them, unfortunately, every advantage to get the stupid thing open and then get that open as well. So I think we should do it.
I agree also. This is, it's making it uniform and avoiding a problem down the road.
Walter, were you asking procedurally, though, whether we should be amending
Well,
the resolution? Or
let's introduce the resolution then, Susie, as it was proposed.
Okay, so we need a motion to authorize the amendment of the golf project transaction documents, and there were many, between the IDA and Empire Resorts Real Estate 1 LLC and the EV Hotel project transaction documents between the IDA and Empire Resorts Estate 2 LLC. So
I have a question, because
well, wait, let's
I
get a
have a
motion. Let's motion first, Howard, and then we'll do discussion and
okay.
edit. So can I have a motion?
I'll make the
I'll move it.
motion.
Okay, Carol, Paul second.
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Howard, discussion.
Is this amended? Because I was following the emails. I was on the trail, and there was many, and I didn't get a chance to see. Is there this last request, which obviously came in within the last few days, that is included in this amendment?
No, we would need, now that the resolution has been introduced, we would need a motion to amend the resolution in operative section 4F, so that the pilot period for the incremental value on the EV hotel project begins on January 1st, 2025, the way the resolution reads. Now it says 2024.
Okay.
So you want to make a
I
motion,
would
Howard, to
make-
amend the resolution?
I would make, yeah, I would make that motion, because we need, they're not going to open the pro shop before the golf course, not going to open the golf course before the pro shop. So we need them to be consistent. So I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 And that was on the amendment, Susie, right? Now you're going to
Correct.
call the question on the motion.
So now we'll call the question. Do we need to call the question on the whole motion now, Walter?
Yep.
Okay, so let's call the question on the overall motion to authorize the amendment of these documents. Can I have a motion? Or rather, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, the next item on our agenda is the FSH Lodge, which is the health spa at Neversink. We have, I believe that this is on the agenda for discussion as well as for authorizing the agency to engage special counsel.
Jen, can you put me out in a waiting room and bring me back when this is completed? Because my wife Barbara represented the applicant in the purchase of this property, so we're not going to act on behalf of the agency.
Yes, I don't have the power today, but Julio does. Let me know if.
Walter's now in the waiting room.
Okay, thanks. So this is an application, you've received it in your packet. This is just for discussion today. And as Walter said, to authorize engagement of special counsel. This is for the redevelopment of the New Age Health Spa in Neversink. I have scheduled a public hearing, which will take place, and you've also got that in your packet, the public hearing notice. The public hearing will be just before our April 11th board meeting, April 11th at 8:30 in the morning at the Town of Neversink Town Hall. So again, this is just for discussion today. There's no board action to be taken. The cost benefit analysis is in draft, so you'll have that, and that'll be made public in the very near future as well. And for the board's consideration today is a proposed resolution, which is in your packet and online, authorizing the engagement of Bluestein, Shapiro, Frank, and Barone to act as special counsel to represent the agency. And we have Will Frank on the call today.
Okay, and so that obviously due to Walter's conflict. So at this point, let's get a motion first to authorize the agency to engage special counsel. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Ed,
I'll second it.
Paul second. Any discussion? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor of appointing Bluestein Shapiro et al. As special counsel for the IDA for this transaction, say aye.
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 Any
Thank you.
Okay, Will,
Great.
you're hired.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Thank
Morning.
you.
Morning.
Don't pay any attention to the Port Jervis thing next to my name. I couldn't get that off for some reason. I'm Corporation Counsel in Port Jervis, and the last Zoom I was on had that little notation there. But I will, Walter has briefed me just very tangentially on the project. I'm familiar with some of the very basics of it, and I will look forward to working with you all as the process goes forward. May I ask a question?
Sure.
The April 11th meeting at 8:30 a.m., is that going to be live or Zoom? Because I'm going to be out of town that day.
The public hearing will be in person. That's at 8:30 in the morning. The IDA board meeting will be at 11 o'clock that same day. And that I believe will be via Zoom. We're still under the executive order that allows us to meet remotely.
Yeah, the executive
We will
order.
also, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, the executive order currently has been extended to April 15th.
Right. And we will, per the open meetings law, as long as there's internet access, we'll be live streaming the public hearing as well.
Okay, good. So I'll be able to access it from where I am.
Yes.
What, just, does anybody know what the timing is on this project?
They are on a fairly aggressive time frame. So we've been working to try to get it to a place where the board could approve it on April 11th. They are planning to begin construction in May if they can.
Okay.
So, Jen, the
Yes.
cost-benefit analysis will be ready then?
Yes, yeah, it should be ready in the next day or two, maybe. But I would hope that by tomorrow
Okay.
we'll have it, and we'll certainly have it well before the public hearing.
Okay. So if there's no other discussion, we'll move on to the next item of business, which is Fay Hospitality Catskills LLC. And that's the application, I believe, for the entity purchasing the Villa Roma properties. So Jen, or should we bring Walter
You need
back?
to bring
Let's bring Walter
Walter
back.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, let's get Walter back.
Unless anyone has any questions for me or needs any other information, I guess I will excuse myself.
Good to go, Will. Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
all very much. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Hey, Walter, welcome back. So we're now talking about the Fay Hospitality Catskills LLC application, the Villa Roma project. Would you or Jen walk us through?
Walter, if you have anything to add, please let us know. We only just received this application and I haven't had a chance to look at it too closely yet. So I just included it for your information. There's no action to be taken today. We're not ready to move forward with setting a public hearing or anything like that at this point. But this is a project at the site of the Villa Roma, which involves acquisition of the Villa Roma parcels and then further development of the property. So in taking a quick look at the application, I have a couple questions for the applicant and their counsel. So I really don't have a lot to say about it at this point. I just wanted you to be aware that we've received it.
Walter, is this a done deal?
So if I may, hi, this is George Duke. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to offer ourselves actually up for answering any questions you may have preliminarily on the application. We represent the purchaser, Steve Viglianti and myself represent the purchaser. So, and we submitted the application to Jennifer. So I don't know if there's anything you might have any questions, specific questions that I might clarify.
So I have a question. Was the property sold?
Not yet. It's in contract.
Okay. When is it expected to close?
It's in the midst of shortly, I would say within the next few months, we're working through we're not representing them on the transaction itself. Our understanding is they're working through some final site conditions.
So is this application subject to their closing to the extent that if we don't approve the application, would that hinder the closing of this deal?
Probably, yes.
But I guess at this point, you're just bringing it
Okay.
to our attention. We're not looking to take any action today, correct?
Correct.
Well, when would we take action if it's based on your statement, it's imperative that the action is approved for the deal to go ahead? Is that what you're saying?
Well, Paul, I think we'll be able to handle this application over the next few meetings and
Okay.
not delay their closing. The application and the plan for purchasing and renovating and upgrading the Villa Roma are very well outlined in the letter from Mr. Veglianti dated March 23rd, which is in your packet. So my expectation is that Jen will get her questions answered, and this will be on the agenda for some type of action on your meeting on April 11th. Does that sound right, Jen?
Yes, I think I can't hold a public hearing before April 11th at this point, but when we haven't, gotten to the cost benefit or anything yet. So, but I think I can probably schedule the public hearing, get the questions answered I need answered. I just, it's just little things that I haven't had a chance to look through closely yet. So I would think that on April 11th, the board could, I'll have a public hearing date scheduled, and then following the public hearing, the board can move forward with a vote on the application.
Is the hotel closed right now?
I don't believe so. I think it's
No, it's open.
it's operating.
I go by it every other day, so it's open.
This time of year, it may close from day, maybe dark certain days, but it's certainly okay. It's certainly operating.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, great.
I have one
We'll look
last,
forward to hearing more about it.
real quick question.
Go ahead, Harold.
I haven't had a chance to look at the documents. I'm just looking current employees versus future employees. And I know this is a cost benefit analysis, but they're looking to, we have the attorneys on. So they're looking to renovate and bring this back as a full class hotel.
It will be the intention is to operate it as a resort hotel, similar,
Okay.
as it was in its heyday.
The job creation estimates set forth in the submittal letter indicate that the project expects to retain the existing workforce, which is 269 full-time equivalent employees and 100 seasonal employees.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so we're going to move on now to the next item for discussion only, which is New York Thompson 3 LLC, which is a solar project, and they are applying for agency benefits. Jen, Walter, who's going to walk us through?
This is, go ahead, Jen. I mean, it's as straightforward as
Pretty typical.
many of the rest we've had.
Right. This is a pretty typical of the solar application, solar projects we've had. This one, this is near the Nani's facility on Old Route 17 in the town of Thompson. And it's I think a 4 megawatt solar facility. 4 megawatts. This one is fairly simple and straightforward, and we've worked with these solar developers many times in the past. So because of the way the benefits to solar projects are structured through the state, there's really not a tremendous tax benefit in the form of real property tax abatements. There's not any real property tax abatement through the IDA to the project. So they're really just, So they're seeking mortgage recording tax and sales tax abatements. So this one, it does not require a public hearing. I've sent the application to the affected taxing jurisdictions. And again, I think that
I'll be here.
this could be ready for board
This
approval
meeting will be over by 10.
at the April meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so pretty straightforward. Does anyone have any questions, comments to raise on this project? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to the, we're now going to hear from RBT, our auditors. We have Donna Crowley and Linda Hannigan on the call with us. And Donna, Linda, we'll turn it over to you.
Morning, all. Excuse me. I'm Linda Hannigan, I'm director with RBT, and as Van mentioned, Donna Crowley, I'm a partner on the job this year, and going to review the financial statements for you and our comments. Thank you.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
So the the IDA, so the financial statements, I'm not sure if you guys have copies of those with you or available, but
Somebody can put them up, Jen or somebody.
And they were all in the agenda packet. The drafts that we got yesterday are in your agenda packets. I don't think I can't share my screen.
Why would we need to? We went through this in our last meeting. If she just walks us through?
yeah, that's fine. So I just wanted to start with page 1 actually is our audit opinion. It just changed a little bit in the current year. The opinion is first, the important thing that everyone wants to know. And yes, you've got a clean opinion, which is what you want. So that's great. If we just move on down, we'll skip over to page 7. And that's the statement of net position. If you notice, cash is the first thing. It increased a little, and which down at the bottom, your net position then also increased a little for this year, which is nice. But otherwise,
so a little would be because you have this statement. What's a little, out of curiosity?
About 600,000.
Okay.
So if you go to the next page, you'll be able to see the next page is your activity for the year. And the first thing is your project fees. So that is where your increase is. Your project fees increased to a nice extent. And that was basically from 2 projects where it was a result of an audit where Adelier and Concord, some past due amounts went into project fees this year. If you went down to the bottom of the page, there is a prior period restatement there. So it was $32,000. That was just a result of a couple of accruals that we changed from last year. So that also increased your fund value, your net position.
Yeah, Donna, let's make it clear that the project fee increase may be booked as a large amount in 2021 over prior periods, but those project fees collected in 2021 were earned in prior periods. They just weren't paid in prior periods.
Yes.
So there's really no net change other than income that was received in 2021 that should have been received in prior periods.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. Also, I think there should be a comment on lease income. That's a dramatic drop.
Oh, there is.
So
right.
the only issue I have when we talk in vagaries is the amounts. In other words, if we're going to a little bit, vast amounts, please just give us the specifics if you're going to bring up a comment.
You're on only on audio, Howard. Everybody else is looking at it, but we can do that.
Oh, okay. All right. No, that's fine.
The project fees for 2020 were $467,000, and if you look back over prior periods, that's a very consistent number. It jumped to 1.2 million in 2021, but almost all of the incremental increase are as a result of the sales tax audits of the Concord project and the Adelar project. So I wanted to just make it clear that, 2021 was not like some banner year. Most of the incremental project fee revenue was earned in prior periods. It just happened to be paid in 2021. Donna.
This is just
you would-
reflecting cash is what you're saying. It's not an accrue, it's not tied to the year.
We
in which
didn't,
it earned.
we couldn't accrue it in prior years because
Right.
we didn't know it existed
Yes.
until we did the audits.
Got it.
So then what
Thank you.
John is asking for an explanation of is why did the lease revenue drop from 560,000 to 117,000? So let Donna explain that.
Yes, that is, I'm going off memory right now because I did not look that up. But I believe that's from the deferral that you guys have out there.
From the food hub?
No.
No, the deferral of our
Yeah.
COVID projects, we had a
Yes,
number
you
of
have deferral.
deferred
You're letting them
leases.
not
Oh,
pay
okay.
right now.
All right, okay.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be specific. If everybody has it up, then, it's
No,
my,
it's easy to give you the numbers.
Yes.
What we can do on that to get a better answer to John's question is after the meeting, we can just circulate by email the detail for both years, and then it'll be apparent why the lease revenue was substantially less. But I think that the answer given is probably right, that we deferred a lot of lease revenue as a result of dislocation of counterparties' businesses by COVID.
Yes.
And I
Okay.
might interject just here that there's a new GASB, Government Accounting Standards Board statement that will be implemented next year that will affect how the lease revenue and leases in general will be recorded. Currently, you don't have those as receivables, only the current portion, and the GASB statement will change that. They'll be fully recorded when that statement is implemented.
Linda, is it correct that that has nothing to do with 2021 and 2020?
Right. But when you're talking about making comparisons, I wanted to make sure that you're, going forward, there will be definitely a change.
Yeah, on the non-operating expenses,
Yes. I'm
they
assuming
were,
you're
they
you're
were
going.
pretty flat except for that $147,000 charge off.
Yes, that was my next item I was going to point out. That was the result of the Catskill lease. So that 147 was actually made as a current liability in 2020, and that was included in your revenue in 2020. So now we turn to 2021 due to the timing, and that debt was now written off. So you actually had revenue for that last year, and this year you have the expense for that. And
Just to bring it full circle, at the same moment that that was written off, we booked new leases in that
Yeah.
amount or a greater amount with the company that purchased the Catskill Distilling Company assets out of bankruptcy. So it looks glaring sitting there
right,
on an island by itself. But if you look at the other transactions that were booked at the same moment in time, they're a wash.
again, yes, and the lease receivable is not on the books yet, so we can't see that on here to negate that. But going
Oops.
forward again, it would be.
So
Donna,
that'll
wouldn't that
show
have been
up
booked
in-
as revenue, a receivable? If it hadn't been paid, would it have been actually reflected as revenue or would it have been reflected as a receivable?
Which one? The lease?
The bad debt that we then wrote off.
Oh,
You said it was in revenue last year.
It was a receivable and revenue.
Okay.
Because last year, yes, it was a receivable, and so now
Okay.
this year we wrote the receivable goes away to bad debt. Yes,
Thanks.
you're
So
welcome.
the recaptures in 2022.
No, it's in 2021, but the way you book leases now, you don't put them up except for the current period receivable. And
Correct.
that's going to change going forward.
Mhm.
So you'll see it in 2022, but not because of anything other than a change in government accounting regulations.
Okay.
Right, right.
Okay.
Really, that is the majority of the summary. The rest of the financial are a lot of notes, just supporting the numbers that we've already spoke about. If you did want to go to page 11, there is some more, there's detail on your receivables if you wanted to take a look at that. But if everybody's good, we could move on to the board report.
Let's do that. Does anyone have any other questions before we move on for Donna?
I'm good.
Okay, so let's move on.
All right, so the board report is a lot of required information in the beginning, and it talks about that you had no new policies, you had no unusual transactions. The basis of accounting is correct. You corrected anything that we thought that needed a change, and we had no issues with management. So that's basically the beginning of the report. If you keep going to page, what page is this? 4. It talks about, shows the results of your journal entries. The numbers aren't that big. There were 20, but there isn't that much really change number wise. We do have some suggestions as we go forward. And if we could, I'll talk about those briefly. We do suggest balance sheet review. We did, like I said, did have several adjustments. So we just want to maybe look at these more during the year, the balance sheet accounts, make sure they're all reconciled. The escrow liability accounts, there is a liability side of that, and we just didn't have that couldn't get that tied out completely during the audit. There was just immaterial differences, so we just suggest again looking at that in the next year. In the board meetings, we did note some of the board meetings had it actually written down, the board's review and approval of all the reports. So we just want to make sure, ask that is definitely documented in every board meeting. It's a good control.
But Donna, I want to be clear on that to make sure I understand what we didn't do, because we review financials in every meeting.
Yeah, so, I think it just, I don't think it made it to all the board minutes, because that's all I have to read because I'm not in your meetings. So I not all of the minutes directly said that the board reviewed and approved the financial reports.
But yet it reflected that there was a financial report. My point is, I don't think we review financials in every board meeting.
We definitely do not.
Right. So I think that.
Nor do we intend to. So I wouldn't think we would want to, would we?
No.
Well, no. And I think
there's no need.
I want to make
no need to.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that this comment.
I mean, from an auditor's point of view, I think there is a need to. We do like to see that the board's reviewing something that shows the activity during the whatever time period has passed between board meetings.
Let's move on.
Okay. We look at a statement payments every board meeting, and I believe we're looking at the financials quarterly.
That's correct.
Okay, so we take your comment. Keep going.
Keep going.
We do just suggest that we suggest this for all our clients. The next two, that QuickBooks has account numbers in it. It's easier to just follow from an accounting view, not just us, but for the person who's doing your accounting. And a disaster recovery plan, we're suggesting to all our clients this year that they have a written disaster plan in case something happens. This comes from the standpoint of IT and OSC's audits that they go around the New York State and do, and they are cracking down on asking people to have these too. Capitalization policy, we suggest that, you know, fixed assets come and go on the IDA and the agency, the IDA's financial statements, and we just ask, it's a good accounting thing to have a policy on what things would be going on a fixed asset schedule and on your financial statements. The escrow accounts that you guys are holding, we did note that they have the taxpayer ID of the escrowee, not the agency. So we're wondering if you guys could look into that, because it really is your money that in your bank account.
It's not our money until it's released from escrow. And to the extent that those accounts are interest bearing, the interest income is picked up by the party posting the funds. It's not the agency's interest income. That money belongs to the applicant until it's moved from escrow, even if that is only a move from escrow on a piece of paper.
Okay.
We refund it if a project doesn't move ahead.
That's what I was actually going to ask next.
Yes, it's not our money. And we have two projects right now that after this close of this audit year, for the last 2 years, nothing has happened with them. In April, we'll be closing those out. We'll be billing those projects against the escrow for the agency's expenses, and then the remainder of the money that belongs to the party that posted the escrow will be returned to them. So it's not our money.
It's been recorded on your books and in your name, so that's where the finding comes from.
Yeah, it should be recorded on our books as an escrow that we're holding for the benefit of others.
It's recorded, but it's listed as a liability on your balance sheet. So that's where we're
corrected then.
You control the bank account. You sign on the bank account, correct?
We sign on the bank account, doesn't mean we own it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's in the name of it's in escrow. I mean, we could have an offline discussion. I'm not sure why we're having a discussion like this.
Well, no, Howard, I think what we should do then is, because there's a few comments here that I think need to be addressed and potentially corrected, because I don't like
or addressed
if they're incorrect.
Susie, or addressed and ignored. Let's move on.
Okay. Go ahead. Let's keep going.
It's just not our money. So how it's being, maybe we need to record it differently, but suggesting we should put our ID number on it doesn't make any sense.
You're controlling the account.
My secretary can sign my checks. It's not her money.
But it's in your name. These accounts are in your name, in the agency's name.
As an escrowee.
Let's
discuss
move on, because
Mm-hmm.
we can go back and forth, and and I appreciate that you would like the last word, but I think it's not productive. If we have a disagreement, and we can have it publicly, let's have it at another time.
That's fine. Absolutely.
Okay, let's the next one is we just wanted to have some documentation for review of during the process when they're developing the pilot calculations, kept that as evidence of the review process, another internal control thing that we would like to see evidence of. And just the last thing is minor, the stamp receipts, that just a few of the receipts during testing weren't stamped. And that's it for the board report.
Okay. So I think then, are we at a point where we now need to make a motion to approve the, what are we really approving?
Jen can tell us what we need to do.
Yeah, what do we need to do, Jen?
So the board is asked to, sorry, I'm trying to get to my thing. We have to submit our Paris reports, which were also included in your agenda packet, to the state, and the audited financial statement and board report are incorporated into the Paris report, into one of the Paris reports. There are several. So the board is asked to take a look at all the Paris reports before we submit, and the specific language that the state requires, I believe, is that the board has reviewed the financial information in the Paris reports, which is what we just went over in the review of the audited financial statements. The Paris reports also include information on all our projects, and so that's our annual report, which really has, as you can see, there's information on the board, on governance, on our policies, and then there's the information on our projects and the benefits that we provided during the year. There's a procurement report which just details everything we purchased with a value of $5,000 or greater during the year. There's an investment report which just is very brief. And then the certified financial audit is really just a report where we attach the audited financial statement and board report. So our deadline to submit all this information to the state is close of business tomorrow. So we're asking for the board to make a statement that you've reviewed and approved.
It's an acknowledgement, Jen, it's an acknowledgement of review. It's not an approval.
Yes. Right.
Well, is it a motion to, is it a
No.
motion to approve?
It's not a motion
submission?
it's not a motion to approve. It's an acknowledgement by the board that you've reviewed it.
So that's not a motion.
No, Jen can go around and ask everybody if they've reviewed it.
Well, question, but do we need a motion to approve the submission to the state of the Paris report?
No, the statute says thou shalt submit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then I'll defer to Jen as to how she wants to word this.
So I'll tell you the exact language. What I'd like to say in our meeting minutes is that the board reviewed and discussed the audited financial statements and all the Paris reports, and acknowledged that staff will submit the Paris reports as required by the state controller's office.
Okay. Does anyone have any concerns, questions about what Jen just said? If not, then I guess
it's an
maybe what we can
acknowledgement,
do
so
is
I'll make using Jen's word, because it's an acknowledgement that we have reviewed our audited financial statements with our accountants, as well as acknowledging that the Paris reports are intertwined in that, and that we would like staff to submit those by close of business tomorrow. That's a motion.
Okay, so everyone who would like to so acknowledge, I don't think it's a motion, but let's do it as a group. Can we, show of hands, do we acknowledge what Jen requested? Say aye.
Aye.
Anybody who doesn't want to acknowledge this? Okay.
It's
hearing none, we've been duly acknowledged, or you've been duly acknowledged.
We'll submit the reports. Thank you.
Submit the reports. May the force be with you. All right. Let's move on now. How do we want to do this? Because we need to go into an executive session to discuss, well, you want to word it, Walter, the legal reason?
Jen probably has her cheat sheet there. The financial condition of a particular person or entity.
Right. Yes. The financial history of a particular corporation, I believe, is the language from the OML.
So I just want to, just as a point of order, though, obviously we will come back out, we will have public comment, and then we will go into 2 additional meetings, the Funding Corp and the LDC, during each of which Donna and Linda will be presenting. We will be taking the same steps, right? We will be reviewing the Paris reports and doing the same acknowledgement And I guess we can't go out of order and take care of those now. We have to open and close this meeting and then the next,
Well, it's
correct?
just let's move and go into executive session and try to be efficient.
Okay, so can I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll move it.
So moved. I'll
Okay.
second it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll see you all in a few minutes. the rest
So
of you.
Julio, you've got to put everybody in the waiting room and stop the live stream and stop the recording. Just tell us when you're ready.
Yep. 1 second.
I'm getting coffee.